Welcome to the Sharing English podcast. This summer, we're exploring the United States through one of its most popular sports. Join me for our special NFL mini-series as we travel across the country through football, learning about geography, history, culture, rivalries, and the communities that make each NFL team unique. Now let's get started. Hey everyone, it's your host Freya. Today is the first episode of our special summer mini-series all about the National Football League, or NFL. Now, if you've listened to this podcast before, you may remember that I've already done episodes introducing American football and exploring the Super Bowl. If you're completely new to the sport, those episodes are a great place to start. In this mini-series, however, we're going to do something a little different. This series is not really about learning the rules of American football. Instead, we're going to use football as a way to learn about the United States. We'll talk about geography, history, culture, rivalries, cities, traditions, special vocabulary, and some of the most passionate fan communities in the country. Over the next 8 episodes, we'll travel across the NFL one division at a time. But before we begin that journey, we need to answer one important question. How exactly is the NFL organized? Let's find out. The NFL is the highest level of professional American football in the U.S. Today, the league has 32 teams spread across the country. Some teams play in enormous cities with millions of people. Others represent much smaller but equally passionate communities. One word you may hear when people talk about professional sports in the U.S. is franchise. A franchise is essentially the team organization itself. So when someone talks about an NFL franchise, they simply mean one of the league's teams and the organization or people behind it. Now, 32 teams might sound like a lot to keep track of. That's why the NFL is divided into smaller groups. The first level of organization is called a conference. There are 2 conferences in the NFL. The AFC, which stands for the American Football Conference, and the NFC, which stands for the National Football Conference. You can think of these as 2 large branches of the same league. Each conference contains 16 teams. The names AFC and NFC come from the history of professional football. Decades ago, there were actually 2 competing leagues. Eventually, they merged together, creating the NFL we know today. The details of that history are interesting, but for our purposes, it's enough to know that the AFC and NFC are the 2 major halves of the league. But the conferences are not the most important groups for our series. The divisions are. Each conference is divided into 4 divisions: East, North, South, and West. That means there are 8 divisions in total, and each division contains 4 teams. In fact, our entire mini-series is organized around those 8 divisions. Why? Because divisions are where many of the NFL's biggest rivalries are born. Teams in the same division play each other 2 times every season. Fans become familiar with one another. Victories are remembered. Losses are remembered even longer. And over time, rivalries develop. You can think of divisions as neighborhoods. The entire NFL is one large community, but teams tend to care most about the teams living right next door. This is one reason football fans can become so passionate. They're not simply competing against strangers. They're competing against rivals they know very well. And these rivalries often last for generations. In future episodes, we'll explore some famous examples and learn why certain fan bases care so much about beating particular opponents. Another reason divisions are important is geography. One of the things I love most about the NFL is that it reflects many different parts of the United States. The teams of the NFC North, for example, come from colder northern states where football is deeply connected to local tradition. The teams of the NFC South represent a very different part of the country with warmer climates, a different regional culture, and often a different style of play. In the West, teams are spread across deserts, mountains, and the Pacific coast. And in the East, you'll find some of the country's oldest cities and some of its most famous rivalries. As we move through the series, we'll see that football often reflects the places where it is played. The culture of a city shapes its team. And sometimes the personality of a team becomes part of the city's identity. Of course, teams also compete for championships. During the regular season, each team plays a schedule of games and tries to build the best record possible. At the end of the season, the top teams qualify for the playoffs. And the playoffs are a single elimination tournament. Win and you continue, lose and your season is over. The champions of the AFC and NFC then meet in the Super Bowl. And again, if you're interested in learning more about the Super Bowl itself, including its history and cultural importance, be sure to check out that earlier episode I did dedicated entirely to that topic. For this series, however, we're focusing somewhere else. We're focusing on the people, the places, the traditions, the rivalries, and the communities that make the NFL such an important part of American culture. So over the next 8 episodes, we'll visit snowy northern cities, warm southern regions, small communities, giant metropolitan areas, and some of the most passionate sports fans you'll ever encounter. Along the way, you'll learn new vocabulary, discover interesting parts of American history, and hopefully gain a deeper understanding of the United States itself. Whether you become an American football fan or not, I think you'll find the journey fascinating. So next time, we'll begin our tour of the NFL by exploring our first division. Now I'm curious. Which NFL division or team are you most interested in learning more about? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for listening to the Sharing English podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider following the podcast, sharing it with a friend, or leaving a review. Your support helps more English learners discover the show. Until next time, take care, keep learning, and keep sharing English. Bye.